Hello and welcome to It Was All a Dream official podcast. I am your host, Ashley Greggins, and we are on episode 13. Today's episode is all about being the face of your brand, why it is important, why I thought I was going to get away with it, and why I totally didn't get away with it, and tips on how to get yourself out there. So on today's episode, I want to speak to you and I want to give you some little tips and just my opinion and my point of view on being the face of your brand. I do like to give like little business tips and stuff like that because I know that there's not a lot of people who were brought up the same way as me. Someone once said to me, like, Ash, I'm just not business wise like you. And so I like to give me tips and I like to share when I can. There's not a lot of things I can share on because obviously I'm still learning, but I think I've got it right with being the face of my brand. And also there's a few pros and cons as well to it. So the way I look at it is so important. When I first started off, people were always saying to me, you've got to be the face of your brand, get on the camera, talk about it, talk about products, talk about treatments and stuff. And what I struggled with was professionalism. Like I didn't know how to get that balance. I've got a really funny personality. Um, I'm quite funny. That's hilarious. But I've got like that kind of personality, and I didn't know how to bring that across on social media without being like quite silly and clowny and looking like, oh, I don't know if I go to her, she's not professional. And it's all about using the platforms to your advantage, having your different platforms, because that's the biggest thing now that I would say is make sure that you're on every platform. I see a lot of people and they solely focus on one platform, and I think that's a dangerous game. I've been on social media for 8 years now, and I can honestly say there is things that work on one that don't work on the other. There is time when one is really busy and really flying, and there's times when it goes out of date and people move back to another one. So I think it's about being on all the platforms as you can. I'm not on Twitter and I'm not on Facebook as such. We do share onto Facebook. I found out the other day, I didn't know, but it automatically shares onto Facebook. So we are kind of on there, but I don't focus on a Facebook. Instagram to me is very, very, it's a portfolio of your work. It's nice. It's pictures. It's got to look on brand. It's got to be pretty. It's got to be grabbing enough. And it's not a video. It's not. Sometimes it's pictures, and reels are working really well on Instagram at the minute. And the reels are really easy to do. We've had a model shooting here the other day, and all I done was done facials, and then the videos on them, of just me on the reels, and I'm just massaging and putting the serums on and stuff. They look fantastic. Ella does a really good job at keeping it on trend, keeping it like up to date, and also just making it. I feel like if you look at my Instagram page, you'd almost know what the clinic's like. You know what you're walking into already because it's all on theme. TikTok, on the other hand, is where I show my personality a little bit more. Now, don't get me wrong, on Instagram, if I do a video, my personality comes across. I now am at the stage, and no one's going to start at this stage. I'm at the stage where I really don't care. I honestly will take the piss out of myself first. Like all them funny videos and all, like we've just done one the other day, and I was like, I'm looking for somebody with wrinkles. Like all them videos are something that like makes me laugh in my head, and I go, and I'm gonna do it, and I know that that's not for everyone, and it definitely wasn't for me in the start. 100% it wasn't for me. Like when I first started, I was very much like, oh, the girls from Holly Lodge are gonna laugh at me and they probably was. It was so young into the business and it was so new, and they probably think like, she lost the plot, what is she up to? I thought like Ross would be embarrassed of me, like I would be like, he'd be like, oh my god, what the hell? And you do have them thought processes. I still do have it now, but for me, figures is what sells it to me. If someone's trying to make me do something or somebody's trying to sell me something, it put a figure in front of it. So just for instance, I got it up before just so I knew, and in the last 28 days, I've made 2.5 grand on TikTok. So that's TikTok alone. That's just basically just made itself once all the work's been done for it. TikTok is a platform that I show my personality a little bit more. So with me, there's two ways that I look at TikTok. You've got your content creating and you've got your TikTok shop. So there's two different ways that you use it. For me, the content creating, right now we're doing a series and it's called Skin School. And I'm just teaching like, different skin types and how they're going to use it. You've got to niche it to your business and what you do, but you've also got to kind of like be quite unique and, get a little bit funky with your ideas and stuff. Don't just copy. I've seen someone recently and I was watching a videos and I was like, they've basically put in the search engine, searched their industry and then just copied every video that come up because I've watched the videos and I've seen them. So you've got to be quite creative, and that also comes with confidence. Then you've got the content creating. You've got the TikTok shop. So the TikTok shop is obviously not for every business, but the TikTok shop for me is where I sell my products and stuff, and it's where I've built this massive community now. Like, I'm not even joking. I probably get a little prezi or something in the post every month from someone off TikTok, or they come to the clinic, or I go on live and they're like, how's Bruno? They all know that I'm about to buy my house. They all know, like, TikTok's great for anybody who's got a brand that you need that community. You want that community around you. TikTok is where it's at for that. Like, honestly, there is people on that TikTok that probably want me to thrive and are rooting for me more than some family members and friends. Like, it's just insane. Like, they really will get behind you and they really will support you. It's a nice place. I know, obviously, the biggest thing that people think about when they are putting themselves online or when they are going to be the face of the brand is, of course, trolling. It's the biggest thing that, like, really scares people, and it terrifies me. Like, I'm waiting for the day, and I know that, I'm quite a strong person, but I have my flaws, and I know that when they get pinpointed out and when they are, I know I'm gonna struggle with it. And it's all about character building, and it's all about taking them little bits of hits, them little bits of things. The first time someone said something horrible to me on live, I switched the live off. I completely cut it off and, like, switched it off. And then I was like, I'm never going live again. And then I really had to have a word with myself and was like, are you honestly going to let that hold you back? And I promise you, there was a time that I was like, yeah, like, I can't do it. I can't do it. I was only having this conversation with Ross the other day where I was like, now I'm on that many platforms and I've got that much of, like, a social presence. Nothing of, like, I'm big or anything like that. I'm not saying that. But now I've started to really hold back on my personal life and stuff because I've learned from friends and I've learned from people who are much bigger in the industry and much bigger social presence that, like, people, like, have been like trying to message their fellas and that to try and catch them out cheating and stuff like that. Like, I was telling Ross the other day and he was like, you're joking. And I was like, honestly, it's crazy out there. And it is one of the biggest things that you have to, it's like almost like you pre-plan for it. You know what I mean? It's like you can't let it hold you back, but you also can't be naive to it because the world is crazy, but the world's crazy off the internet as well. So would you really not set up a business? Would you sit in your house and would you never leave because you're too scared because the world's crazy? Or do you get in your car every day and do you drive to your business? And that's just the way I see it. There is so many positive aspects to being the face of your brand. Like, who is going to represent your brand more? Who's going to be more passionate? There is nobody on this earth that knows elegance and knows what I'm about, what I stand for, what I want to put out to the universe, to the world. And nobody knows that except for me. And it's just about being that personality that people can relate to. I've got onto I've got onto TikTok recently and spoke to somebody, and she didn't want to buy the products because she was looking at my skin and she was like, I'd much prefer to buy from someone who's been through it. Like, your products look gorgeous, you're good, but you've got, like, lovely skin. I was like, I've actually been through adult acne. Like, have a look at my story, have a look at me. And it made her feel so much better. And I understand that. Like, I get that. And Also with Instagram, I always like the fact that I always say the thing with my industry is we literally say, come in, take a seat, tell me what you're insecure about, and I'll tell you how I can fix it. Like, they're so vulnerable. So if they have already seen me on Instagram and they've seen that I'm a little bit funny and I don't take myself too serious, or I'm not caked in makeup and I've never got nails on ever. Like, like things like that, then it might be more approachable to them. They might come in and be like, she's dead down to earth. And that's exactly what I am. I'm very humble and I'm very down to earth. And I think I use my platforms to showcase that. This week's episode is sponsored by Cosmetology with Elegance. Affordable skincare, high-end ingredients. We'll link the website below. Let's get back to the episode. So I couldn't advise you more too. But I know that you've already all heard this. I know that you're listening to all this and he's like, yeah, heard it all before. It's about, okay, Ashley, if you tell me to do it, tell me how to get to that point. How do I do it? And the only thing, the few tips that I can say is, one is don't take yourself too serious. So the biggest thing that I used to do is I used to look at myself through the camera and you could see that I was doing that. I would flick my hair. I would do this pose. It used to burn my mum's head out. She couldn't stand it because she said I'd fix myself as I was speaking. And that is the biggest thing. Like, I've had to learn to just not look into the camera. This camera that I'm speaking to right now has actually got a flip and you can actually see yourself, and I never have it that way. And I never thought I'd be able to do that because I was vain. I was vain and I didn't want to put out there unless I looked perfect. I mean, I've looked back on this podcast and I've got my hair's out of place, or I've got my lip line is a little bit smudged, and I would have noticed that on camera and it would have distracted me. So it's the biggest thing is try and get used to speaking to just the camera lens and not yourself, because you're not as critical then. And then I promise you, when you watch it back, you're not as ugly as you think. Like, you're really not. It takes a little minute to get used to the flip camera. So for me, I'm so used to selfies and I'm used to like talking to myself, and obviously on your iPhone, you look so much prettier on front camera. Like, you just do. So it took me a little minute to actually look at myself and be like, oh, is that what I look like to everyone else? Like, I've got one green eye and one brown eye. And when I'm on normal camera, what everyone else can see, that looks different to me than what I'm used to on a selfie. So it does take a little minute. So the biggest thing I would say is practice in your room, practice on your own, get in your little clinics, get in your office, get in your kitchens, wherever it is that you're working, and just practice by yourself. Because when someone is in front of you, you do feel silly. You've got an ego. Do you know what I mean? You don't want to, especially if you're the boss, you don't want to look like that's bothering you and that's fluttering you. So just practice by yourself. There was loads of videos of me at first, and I was just talking to myself, and I was talking to Bruno and stuff like that. And then I started to realize, like, all right, well, let your shoulders down a bit, Ash. I speak with my hands, and when I watch it back, it frustrates the life out of me. Like, I'm like, put your hands down. But that is me, and that's the way I speak. It's like Gordon Ramsay, he does the same. So, like, I just started just being more natural before I actually put anything out there. The first video, if you're going to sit in your car, you're going to put it on front camera and you're going to speak, you're going to hate it. It takes practice and it takes, getting used to. So don't just go, right, okay, today I'm going to do it and not practice. Get yourself in front of a camera and start speaking and stuff and watch it back and go like, all right, well, another thing with me is word vomit. I was so scared of saying the wrong thing, and I was so scared of, sounding like I didn't know my job, or so scared of me having one opinion and someone else having another opinion and getting a backlash on that. The thing is you've got control over the edit. Just don't even think that deep into it. Go in front of the camera, listen to yourself, and then you decide whether you're going to put that out. And if you say something that you don't like, you cut it. Or you say something that you think, it's a bit controversial, cut it. No, there's not a lot of people that take that heat and want that heat. I don't want it. There's things that I could speak about in the industry or stuff that I choose not to. One is because I'm not really that bothered, if I'm honest. But another thing is, it's because I just don't want that heat. I'm not like that. Some people, that is their marketing, and that they want that backlash. They want that attention. That's how they market themselves. But before you even think about that, you've got to just get yourself in front of a camera. So get yourself in front of a camera and then just do it, and then you can decide. Another thing is scheduling. Scheduling is huge. Now, me and Ellen are both going on holiday. We're scheduled all through our holidays. You will see posts and you will think, but yeah, she posted while she's on holiday. No, I'm not. It's all scheduled, and that is the biggest thing. A lot of people don't know that, and it blows my mind. Like, we're scheduled a month before it goes out, and it takes a lot of work. I'm not gonna lie, that part of it is the hardest bit. Getting in front of the camera like this is easy to me now. It's then spending 4 hours editing a video and scheduling and writing the captions and stuff that right now I don't have a team. That is the biggest thing I'm going to do. That is my next employment, is going to be a team around me that's going to do all that, because I'm wasted at that. That's not where I'm thriving. My business needs that right now. It needs that to go out. It just doesn't need me to do it, because that's not what I'm wasted doing. That someone can do it better. I also could learn it, but I don't want to. I don't want to focus my mind on that. But scheduling's a big thing that I think that people think it's, I just don't have the time to do it every day. I promise you do. I've got 3 companies and a podcast, and every single one of my social medias gets posted on every single day. Like, there's well more people busier than me. The biggest thing is I don't have kids, and I always say that. Like, I don't have kids. I go home and I can put my laptop out, and I understand that. But I promise you, if you get your time management right, then you will have time for it. It's also about the money that it makes you. So that them Instagram posts, I promise you, I make thousands on them reels, because the amount of people that they reach, the amount of people. It's also, I do that much in clinic that I can't remember to speak about everything to everyone. I also am not a saleswoman. I've always said this about myself. I'm not a seller. I'm not an upseller, and I don't sell you nothing. So there is things that you need these treatments. These are the treatments that I can do. Or possibly there's these facials on the other side that is really going to benefit you. But I think, well, she's paying for that. So when they see it on Instagram, they go, Ash, what's that? I'd be interested in that. And then it gives me a little bit more confidence to talk about it, because they've approached me. I never want anyone to walk into this clinic and walk out and be like, oh my God, she's sold. She was just a saleswoman. It's just not the way. Like, I always say, if I could inject and treat for free, I would, because I just love doing it. Like, I just do. I generally just love everything about it. I love that feeling that I give to people. I love making people confident. So get on your platforms, choose your platforms, and design them. What way are we going? What way do we want Instagram? What way do we want TikTok? Guys, get on TikTok. There's so many of you that are still not on TikTok. It's frustrating the life out of me. Get on TikTok. I don't know about these faceless TikTok, these faceless accounts. I feel like they take way too much more time. I feel like it takes so much time because they are so presentable. If you have that stunning kitchen, and if you generally make them lattes out of them glass cups, and you drive that Bentley and you think, then fair enough, do it. For me, I don't have that aesthetically pleasing life. So I like to just show a little bit of me. Dipsy Ashley, jumping on TikTok, speaking about what I know, speaking about what I'm knowledgeable about, and also just not taking myself too serious. The financially, it is crucial that you are the face of your brand. Now, the cons to it, because there's loads of pros, but there also is some cons. The biggest con that I am dealing with and gonna deal with more into the future is, so when my products first come out, I put my name all over them. And the reason why I done that is because I didn't want patients to think that I had bought products and I was selling them. I wanted them to know that I'd created them with a bioscientist. They were mine, they were my products that I'd created. So I put my name all over them. 3 years into TikTok, I've rebranded completely, and the biggest thing was is I took my name off. There's a few brands that I can think of. Charlotte Tilbury's one, she smashed it with her own name. She's thinking, my products will be in high streets and they will be in shopping centres. They're going to be in Sephora in the next 3 years. I know that for sure. I didn't want Ashley Greggon's all over it. The social media is a little bit the same. I don't know how, once this expands and once this gets bigger, I don't know how I feel about still being the face of the brand so much. So it is something that you have to think about, but it's something that I'm going to revisit. It's right now, it's so beneficial for me to be the face of the brand. I have time for it. I know in the next 5 years, I'm not going to be able to sit in front of the cameras. I'll do the podcast because the podcast, you can do 4 podcasts in one day. Do you know what I mean? They're scheduled for 3 months. Well, whatever, 2 months. So there is ways of thinking of it, but that is a con. The other con is, of course, putting yourself out there can be a little bit dangerous. It can be, and there's just ways of being smarter. When I first started going on TikTok, there was a few times that I'd said, like, I was in the clinic on my own or something, and my sister-in-law would message me and say, Ash, you've just said that all over the internet. Or there's little conversations that you're having and you go, maybe I shouldn't have said that. Maybe I shouldn't have just posted that walk that I do every single day, because, and you need to be smart. It is something that, like, I don't think that we are all smart enough, but I think the pros definitely outweigh the cons. I want you to all make a plan. If you're not the face of your brands, I want you to all make a plan. I want you to watch this little short episode. And the biggest thing I want you to do is I want you to get in front of that camera. You don't even have to post it yet. Just send them to me. Send them to me. I just want you to get in front of that camera. I want you to start practicing being confident. If you're a PT, I feel for you. I've spoken to my PT friends before, and they're like, you've got to put yourself out there. You've got everyone's judging your body. If you work with skin, it's the same. There's days that I've got spots, and I think, I've got to. But we are humans, and the more you humanize the internet, the easier it becomes. The more that you just stop taking it so serious, drop your ego, don't take it so serious. I promise it becomes so much easier. This is so natural to me now because I just feel like I'm sat next to my mates. And I just feel like when this goes out, it's just going to all my mates. And that's just the way I do it. I just don't deep it. And that's like the biggest advice and the biggest top tip that I'm going to give you. And I'm going to leave this little short episode because this is actually the last episode before I go on my holidays. But the thing is, just don't deep it. Get in front of that camera and don't deep it. I hope you've enjoyed these little top tips, and I hope you all get your cameras out and you all plan to get to be the face of your brands. I want to see you all over my Instagram. Guys, please subscribe. The subscribers are flying and the podcast is doing well better than we ever exceeded to. I really appreciate you, and I will see you next week.